I wanted to do an update, all right, on, and I'm going to title this Gentiles Who Follow the Truth, or Gentiles in Christ. I've received some email, and some responses from people on the outside of our church who felt that it was probably a little too harsh me calling Gentiles, or some Gentiles, heathens. Let me make this clear, okay? When I state, or when I emphatically mention the word heathen, my example of heathen is according to the Bible, right? One being born a Gentile or a Gentile, it doesn't particularly make them heathen, all right? Pagans are heathen, okay? Pagans are heathen. When a child is born in this earth and reared from a mother or father, they're taught, they're innocent until the age of accountability. And eventually they become heathen due to traditions. So when I'm emphatically stating a heathen, I'm talking of those that are walking and excusing their wickedness. Gentiles deep down in the muck, living in sin and trying to use grace to cover their wickedness. Like the examples we have out there, like what's his name? The wannabe DJ guy. One moment. The wannabe, Vocab Malone. He's a perfect example of a heathen. Okay, James White, that's a heathen. I can go on and on and on. These are heathens. Christian pastors, creative flow of dollars, heathens. Because these are Gentiles who's trying to use our word to cover their wickedness and to excuse willful sin on the earth. Okay, those are the heathens we're talking about, or when I speak of heathens, right? Because why? Even though Gentiles were born of other races, those that were within the Israel borders, or our forefathers' borders or provinces, were considered brothers amongst Israelites, brothers and sisters. So when I say heathen, I'm not just talking about any other, just white people. Okay? T.D. Jakes, he's an Israelite, right? But he's walking and operating like a heathen. He's a walking heathen. Okay? Let me read this real quick. I'm going to read one out of the law, and then I'm going to read one out of the New Testament. Starting with the commandments the Lord gave the children of Israel, gave Moses. Because the Most High didn't only give Moses the law to give to Israel only. He gave Moses the law so that the Gentiles could learn to follow in the earth righteously also. Okay? Let me read it here. Right? I'm in Exodus 20 and 10. But the seventh day, speaking of the Sabbath, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Okay? So the Gentiles who are within our gates were commanded, according to Moses, to follow the law also. And that's why we call these Gentile Christians, who so happen to be other races, heathen. They're heathen. because they're not following the commandments of God. A matter of fact, they're trying to claim that Christ's blood excused their heathenistic practices like Halloween, Christmas, Easter.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Recha HaKwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you other elders and brethren, you fellow believers of this truth. Shalom to you, few sisters. Shalom to the elect. We've dealt with this guy in the past, but one thing he said that I really want to touch on, when he said that everybody's pure until they reach the age of accountability. And that's talking about the Israelites, by the way. But I want to read a scripture that really counters that, because all of us was born for a purpose, right? If you were born to be a bugged out drug addict and killer, right, you're going to be that. You just got to come in the flesh, obviously in your body, and be nurtured to become the person that you're going to be. You're already preordained to be who you are. So if you preordained to be acting as a heathen, you'll be a heathen, right? And that right. But if you're already born strictly to be a heathen out of a lineage, you're just a heathen in general. You're an unbeliever. That's why in Genesis, I can't remember the scripture, but he says, when thou has particular type of food, let the stranger eat it. You don't eat it, because this is why the Moabites, they're designed to eat what they eat, because the Lord set them up to do that, right? So the confusion of Gentiles is what I want to go into, because this man, as Christians, they mix Gentiles with Israelites and other nations because it's a universal word, right? I also found out some years back, the Mormons believe a Gentile is anyone who's not Mormon. If you're a non-Mormon, you're considered a Gentile, right? It makes sense. It's on point if you're an Israelite. If you're not an Israelite, if you are a believing Israelite, you're not a Gentile. But if you're a non-believing Israelite who don't believe in the Messiah, because remember, you had the Jews, when it says Jews in Greek, Jews and Gentile, you had Jews who didn't believe in salvation. We're going to get that in Acts 13, Lord's will, right? Where salvation is the key and is Yahushua. Then you were converted from being a Gentile. But then you had strangers and Gentiles who were literally of other nations, like Ruth, right? Like the woman that hid out the spies. They are literally heathen, right? Just meaning non-believers. They're not part of the truth. So it's confusing, and that's why I want to go into this lesson. But first I want to go into Romans. I want to go to Romans 9, and it just goes to show you Gentile can be used for multiple things. Strangers can too. This is universalism. Gentile is neither Hebrew nor a Greek word, right? It's all from the Vulgate. So anyway, this is Romans 9, and let me go up to 10. It says in 9, for this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. Right? This time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac. For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil. This is talking about Jacob and Esau. Right? That the purpose of God according to the election might stand, not of works. You see what he said? Remember the John the 10th chapter when it says, was it the 9th chapter about the blind man? When the disciples asked him, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And the Lord says, neither. You know, that for the purpose of the Lord. Well, he didn't sin in that lifetime, no. But ultimately, sometime back, he may have sinned, or the Lord just decided to blind him. So There's things that's set for the purpose of the Lord, you know, in play, right? According to the election might stand not of works, but of him that calleth. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness of God? God forbid. For he have said to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy. This is talking about nations too. Job 34:29. Whether it be done against a nation or a man only. And I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. This is talking about from birth. So you can be born in sin. This man, what's his name? We used to call him another name, but I'm not going to call him that. But Rakah Hashiyah, I believe his name is, Elder Rakah Hashiyah, whatever. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, none of us is guiltless. Like, if the Lord didn't come and die for us, we would never come out of these captivities, because you don't know how much sin you created in the past. These are perpetual events of slavery ongoing that we went through. You had kings coming into Israel after the place was set a standard, who came and destroyed it because they was destined to do that. So this man says, basically what he's saying is the heathen people, they're all pure too until they grow up and do wicked. No, they were already predestined to be the wicked. This is why it's said here, let me go on down. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Like Malachi 1. This people that I have indignation forever. Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. As a nation. We're talking about nations. I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy. Right? Let me go on down to the Gentiles. Calling it the Gentiles. Right? And everybody think this is talking about heathens. And see, this is racism. Because every time you see the word Greek, everybody think it's talking about a white man. Or Gentile is talking more racism. You think it's talking about another nation strictly. It can be. But this is where it's called context. Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who have resisted his will? Nay, O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? See, the Lord is telling you that everybody's made according to what the Lord wanted you to be made. Have not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one a vessel of honor and unto dishonor? Right? This is where we go to 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, where it says the son of perdition have been revealed. This man Esau has been revealed to be the wicked. He is definitely a Gentile, right? But he's not a Gentile Israelite. He's a Gentile Hebrew Edomite. Those are the difference. There's a terminology where two words can mean many different things, right? Let me go on back now. And we're going down here. It says, even us who have called not to the Jews only, but also the Gentiles. This is why I say to the Jews, why are the Jews called if they already Israelites? You see what I'm saying? Even us that he have called not of the Jews only. So why did he call the Jews? Didn't they know they were Jews already? He called them. We're going to go to Acts 13. We're going to show you why he called the Jews. Let's go to Acts 13. But first, let's get Leviticus 19:34. We're going to remember what he said about the Jews, and then to the Gentiles. Leviticus 19:34. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you, which he quoted. What was that? Exodus? Is that Exodus? He quoted Exodus 20. I had a couple other things lined up, and I promise you I'll get back to the Jews only, then to the Gentiles. There's a reason why he said to the Jews. I mean, when you go to Matthew 23, when Yahushua went and approached the Pharisees, he had a problem with the Pharisees because they didn't like him, right? Exodus, I think he quoted Exodus 20 and 10. What did it say? But the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord thy God, and thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger that within thy gates. Right. Honestly, when the world is back in order, when this place is back in peace, these other nations will follow the laws. But they still don't have the covenant. It wasn't given to them. It's given to the Israelites. That's what makes it special. Come on, man. Anyway, but the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself. Isn't that talking about the first commandment in the book of Leviticus? Right? Yahushua said that in Mark the 12th chapter and about the 30th verse. There's no greater commandment than to love the Lord and thy neighbor as thyself. For ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So let's go to Exodus 20. No, not Exodus 20. We just read that. Let's go to Acts 13. Right? 13. I'm going to just get to the point. 16. Then Paul stood up, beckoning with his hand, and said, Men of Israel, and ye that fear God, give audience. The God-fearers. That is another name of the men of Israel and Jews. You know, the Jews were claiming to be believers of Yahweh. Right? But it's going to go on to say what he was talking about. Right? The God of this people, Israel, chose our fathers. Right? And exalted the people when they dwelt as strangers in the land of Egypt. Right? This is why during the Pentecost in Acts 2, it was telling you that the Israelites was coming from all over. They would have been considered, some of them, strangers as well. That's why he had to say, love thy neighbor as thyself. That's why he said that. And with a high arm brought them out of it. Right? And about the time 40 years suffered he their manners in the wilderness. So now let's go on back to what I was quoting in Romans 9, when it said to the Jew, right? And then go to the Gentile. Where was I at? Calling to the Gentiles. It says, where am I at? He have not potted clay, what God assures his wrath, to make the people known to the vessel of destruction. Right. All right. It says, even us whom he have called, not of the Jews only, right, but also the Gentiles. So what he's saying here, even us whom he have called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. So basically, he's preaching to them. This is why I say the Jew and the Greek, right? Go to the Jew first and then to the Greek. That's what I wanted to say. Go to the Jew first and then to the Greek. See, the Jews already knew that they were Israelites, but what was he trying to do? Let's go to Acts 13. I'm going to jump on down here. 26 verse. Men and brethren, children in the stock of Abraham, whosoever among you feareth God, right? To you is the word of this salvation sent. What is the salvation? The Messiah, right? For they that dwell in Jerusalem and their rulers, because they knew him not, nor yet the voices of the prophets, which are read every Sabbath day. They have fulfilled them in condemning him, right? Right. This is why the law was made corrupt, because they looked at him as, when the Bible said, suffer not a witch to live, they was calling him a devil or warlock, various other things because of the miracles, right? And though they found no cause of his death in him, yet desired they Pilate, right, that he should be slain. And when they had fulfilled all that was written of him, they took him down from the tree and laid him in the sepulchre. But God raised him from the dead, right? And he was seen many days of them which came up from Galilee to Jerusalem, who are witnesses to his people, right? So, and we declare unto you glad tidings, how that the promise which was made unto our fathers. Remember, they was boasting about our father Abraham. This is John the 8th chapter. When you read that, it was boasting about it was my father, our father Abraham, our father. That's all they boasted about. But Paul was bringing them back through salvation, and this is what GOCC doesn't see. He thinks this is strictly talking about other nations. God had fulfilled the same unto us, their children, in that he have raised up Yahushua again, as it is also written in the 2nd Psalms, thou art my son, this day I have begotten thee. And as concerning that he raised him from the dead, now no more to return to corruption, he saith unto the wise, I will give you the sure mercies of David. This is why they always included that. Now when we go back to Romans, this is what Paul said in Romans 9:26, right? And 25. Even as also said Hosea, which goes Hosea, I will call them my people which were not my people, and my beloved which were not my beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall be said unto them, ye are the children of the living God. Right? People say, well, what was Abraham? Right? What were they before they were called Israelites? Right? You go to Hosea 1:10. This is what it said. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass in a place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. I'm just quoting it because I read it so many times. So when you go on down in the 27th verse, it says Esaias, which goes to Isaiah, also crying concerning Israel. Wait a minute, what happened to everybody? Through the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea. We see this in, I think it's Isaiah 10. It must be Isaiah 10 that it's talking about. A remnant shall be saved. In fact, Isaiah 10 says a remnant shall return. For he will finish his work and cut it short in righteousness. Because of the short works will the Lord make unto the earth. But remember what this is called. The calling of the Gentiles. So why is the calling of the Gentiles constantly talking about the Israelites in the book of Hosea and the book of Isaiah, Hosea, Isaiah, and right here it's called Israel's unbelief? Right? What then shall we say, that the Gentiles which follow not after righteousness have attained the righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith? What is the faith? Salvation in the Messiah. But Israel, which have followed after the law of righteousness, have not obtained the law of righteousness. This is why Romans 9 cook Christians in his Gentile doctrine, because all through it, it's quoting Hosea, it's quoting Isaiah, right? It's some of Jeremiah, the book of Psalms. All through it is going into the restoration of the children of Israel. Now, the last part I want to get to, Jephunneh the Kenizzite, right? This says here in Joshua, where was I at? Joshua 14:6. Then the children of Judah came unto Joshua of Gilgal, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite. Well, wait a minute. Let's see what the commentators had to say about this. This is crazy. They said Jephunneh is a biblical figure recognized primarily as a father of Caleb, right? Of the 12 spies sent by Moses to explore the land of Canaan. His name appears in several passages with the Old Testament, and he is noted for his association with the tribe of Judah through his son Caleb. Jephunneh's lineage role are significant in understanding the heritage and the faithfulness of Caleb, a key figure in Israel history. Jephunneh is identified as a Kenizzite, right? In connection with the Kenizzites, a group mentioned among the inhabitants of Canaan. Despite his son Caleb is consistently associated with the tribe of Judah. This is why they tried to say Caleb was an Edomite. You see what I'm saying? The affiliation is evident in the passages of Numbers 13 and 6. Well, Numbers 13 and 6, what does it say? Judah, Caleb, let me go here. Of the tribe of Judah, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. Jephunneh, or Jephunneh, however they pronounce it. The affiliation is evident, which states the tribe of Jephunneh, the Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite connection may indicate a non-Israelite origin. You see that? But why? Why would they connect that as a non-Israelite origin? If an Israelite is calling himself something else, that's a whole nother lesson. But why would they connect him as being a non-Israelite? Just like you got our people right now that don't even consider themselves Israelites. But somehow they consider somebody who is non-believing as a non-Israelite. You could be a non-believer and still of the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But he was just calling himself the Kenizzite. Let's go here. Jephunneh, what did that mean? The hunter. That's what Jephunneh means, a hunter. Son of Eliphaz, grandson of Esau, one of the dukes of Edom, a brother of Caleb, father of Othniel. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. This is madness. Remember you had Simon the Zealot, right? I believe. You had various other men whose notable names was called other things, like Kenaz the hunter. That's all Jephunneh mean, the hunter. But you could call yourselves, like you got guys right now who might call themselves a Jamaican. Doesn't mean their lineage goes to Jamaica, right? Or European. You got Jake call themselves Russian. It don't mean they're Russian. And they will say in history books 1,000 years from now, if the world went on, that Roy Jones Jr., that's a Russian, this proves that he wasn't a so-called black man. He was a white Russian man. And this is what they did with, what's his name? From the Italian band, Cornelius. Same thing. Anyway, that's all I have on that.